Hey everyone, if you like our content and want to help us grow our channel, you can support us on Patreon where you also get exclusive behind the scenes content. Otherwise, follow us on these social media platforms where you can help support us. A little goes a long way. Enjoy the rest of this video. Good evening everyone and welcome back to another Nonocat video. Now with the Hi-Capa series, the Hi-Capa gas blowback pistols, there have been numerous upgrades and aftermarkets released over the years. Now if you've ever owned one, or if you currently own one, then you would know that the Hop Up has always been a big problem. Now the Hop Up arm itself will bend out of shape over years of use, or if you're using a stiffer bucking. So the more you adjust it, the more it bends out of shape, causing the left side to be more depressed than the right side. And this causes the BB to be hopped leftwards. And this has been an issue that has been ongoing for over a decade, just until recently. So in this particular video, we'll be talking about some upgrade cards that address this. And here we have two TDC Hop units that directly help with this issue. Here we have the La-Capa Customs, here we have the Nexxspeed. Let's take a direct comparison and see how they perform. So straight off the bat, these two Hop units cost about the same amount of money, except the La-Capa Custom does cost a little bit more to get to New Zealand because of the shipping. The Nexxspeed, however, if you order above $100, it actually has free shipping. So in terms of pricing, this does come a little bit better in value. So in terms of the packaging, we can see that the La-Capa Customs comes in a little Ziploc bag. The Nexxspeed does come in a Ziploc bag as well as a hard case. And the La-Capa Customs as well as the Nexxspeed both come with a 1911 plug as well as a grub screw underneath for further adjustments on the fitment on your midframe. Now the Nexxspeed, however, does come with additional hex screws as well as a hex key. So you can decide if you want to run the Phillips screw that's already on or the hex keys. Now the differences of the design, despite both being advertised as TDC, the La-Capa Customs actually runs quite a similar setup to the original design, where the arm is actually a piece that goes on the left. Now the good thing is that this piece is not a piece of steel, it's actually a solid chunk of steel, and I believe that would eliminate the problem of the arm bending. Now with the Nexxspeed, however, it is a ring design which pulls it down on a center gravity, being a true top-down center mod. So with both of the units, they do use a horizontal rotary style sort of wheel, and on the La-Capa there is no indicators to show you what setting you're on, but on the Nexxspeed there's a little arrow that adjusts and shows you what hop setting you're on. So I absolutely love that indicator as it shows you know what hop setting you have on that particular BB weight, so you can set it quickly if you're swapping out BB weights or if you're requiring to disassemble it and reassemble it. So that's a really cool feature from the Nexxspeed. So with the La-Capa unit, we did have a lot of issues with the fitment straight out of the box. So with the inner barrel, we did find that it was a bit wobbly and it did not really hold the PDI and Unicorn Airsoft barrels very well. So in order to fix that, we had to use a bit of plumbing tape in order to secure it inside the Hop unit. So one of the problems with the La-Capa unit is there's a lot of movement with the barrel inside the unit. So it doesn't matter which barrel or bucking combo we've used. There seems to be a gap even after the screws are tightened. So I'll just quickly show you. So this is with the screws tightened. We're running Unicorn Airsoft barrel and bucking. You're not supposed to hear that sound, so it's actually wobbling. I don't know if you guys can see it. So there's movement and lots of movement with the rotation. It's pretty loud, you can hear it. That's lots of play in this, and that's with the screws completely tightened. So here we have another combo with another, I think this is a TNT barrel with a maple leaf bucking, and still does the same thing. Likewise with the PDI and the Unicorn bucking. So one of the quick ways to fix this problem is to use a bit of plumbing tape, and it might improve a bit of air seal as it helps with the seal on the bucking as well. So we'll just wrap it as such. So a bit of plumbing tape. So that removes the rotational problem as well as the wobble. So you don't hear that sound anymore. And there's no gap either, so it seals it up pretty well. Secondly, I did find that the La-Capa unit does not really fit well with multiple of my outer barrels as well as the mid frames. So in terms of fitment, it was a little bit looser than usual, which causes a bit of instability with accuracies. So first off, we're gonna test it for fitment with outer barrels. Here we have 4 different barrels. We have the UAC, we have the Airsoft Masterpiece, the Gunsmith Bros, and a generic aluminum brand version. So this one's these two are non-recoiling barrels, the same as the aluminum one down here. And the Gunsmith Bros is actually a tilting barrel. But we're just gonna show you fitment with the gold standard. This is the Airsoft Masterpiece brass hop unit. This has been the gold standard for many years for Hi-Capa high-end builds, I guess. So first off, with the UAC, that sits really snug. It literally kind of just sits in there, no movement whatsoever. This is the Airsoft Masterpiece barrel. I mean, as per usual, it's kind of made for it. There's no movement. And likewise, like the UAC, there's barely any movement at all. Now here we have the Gunsmith Bros. This one's a tilting barrel, so it does need to move, but when it's locked into place, it's not too bad. So I can rotate it. It's not going to fall out. It's going to lock in place pretty well. With the generic brand barrel, this is meant to be non-recoiling, but there's a bit of movement there, but not too bad. Now, let's check out the La-Capa and see how they fit. So firstly, with the UAC, there's a lot of rotation. It doesn't seem to lock into place very well. Yep. A lot of play there, and I'm assuming this would be the same. Yep. So it actually rotates and doesn't lock into place. It doesn't hold it there. So lock it down. It just doesn't hold. This is with the Gunsmith Bros. This one is better. It doesn't seem to rotate. So it's held in place slightly better. And this is with the generic brand, which seems to rotate out anyway. So first off, we're going to start with the gold standard, the Airsoft Masterpiece brass unit. So let's try it with the Gunsmith Bros. So that just sits on. There's minimal play left and right, up and down, just a little bit. So not too bad. With the Airsoft Masterpiece frame, likewise, there's less play up and down on this. The second frame, there's a bit more play, but up down, there's barely any play. And this one is a Marui with a shim actually added on. So you understand very soon why. So this one doesn't fit on because it was actually shim for a different hop unit. Okay, so fitment for the La-Capa. So we're going to start off with the Gunsmith Bros. So So that sits on very easily, but there's a lot of play. There's a lot of play up and down. There's a lot of play left and right. So you need to use the grub screw that's right underneath to actually get a tight fitting, but it does mean scratching a line right on your mid-frame. So it's something that I wouldn't advise at all. A shim would work better in this case. Now with the other Airsoft Masterpiece frame, likewise, there's a lot of play. There's lots of movement up and down, left and right. With this one, likewise, probably a little bit more. And last, this is the Marui mid-frame with the shim. And that's what the shim is for. So there's barely any play up and down, left and right. But this one was actually tuned for that purpose, so it's a bit funny. Now the measurements on the Nexxspeed were absolutely precise. They fit very well with multiple outer barrels that I had, and with the mid frames it was actually a very good and tight fit. We actually had a bit of trouble trying to put it on the mid frame as I had to push it in, and basically the grub screw at the bottom was actually already installed with a bit of lock thread. So we had to actually heat it up before we could unthread it and fit it onto the mid frame. Now because the measurements were so tight, it actually required a bit of pressure to fit it on and to remove it. So I had to use a rubber mallet, quite a lot to remove it before it could be loosened and be removed by hand. That being said, because of that, it actually sit very snug onto all my mid frames and absolutely had no wobble. So that is a big plus for the Nexxspeed. Okay, now for the Nexxspeed. So this is the Nexxspeed brass unit. That sits pretty well. It's pretty snug. So just like the Airsoft Masterpiece, shake it a little bit more. It's locking into place. So it doesn't seem to move around very much, which is good. But if you rotate it, it does come out. But otherwise, that lock is much nicer. The Airsoft Masterpiece barrel. Just trying to fit that in. There we go. Likewise, same thing. Seems like the UAC barrels are quite similar. I'll just rotate it. Yep. So with a bit of rotation, it does pop out. But otherwise, if we shake it, it still stays in place. So that's pretty good. With the Gunsmith Bros. That sits pretty well. Seems to lock into place. Retracts. Yep. And the generic brand. Pretty much the same as all the other ones there, so that's alright, not too bad. So just gonna test it on. There's barely any wobble left and right, barely any up and down as well. And this is without the use of the grub screw. It actually has a very precise fitment with the Gunsmith Bros. With the Airsoft Masterpiece, it's actually a tight fitting, but you can see it sliding in. So removing it is going to be a little bit harder than usual, but it does work. And you can see that I'm going to shake it. It's not going to fall at all. There's no wobble, left and right. Up and down doesn't move at all. So this is the best fitting that I've seen for such a long time, to be honest. Now removing it is does require a little bit more force. So usually with this, I actually could push the slide just a little bit, but we're just going to assist it just ever so slightly with a rubber mallet, and it just comes off without too much pressure, luckily. Now with the second mid frame, this one sits on as it's just a little bit looser now, but you can see likewise there's no movement up and down, and there's barely any left and right. So this is with a used mid frame. Last but not least, this one kind of still fits, but just barely. So I'm not going to force this one, as this one's shimmed. But seems like the measurements on the Nexxspeed is absolutely fantastic, especially with the CNC measurements. Now with the Lilacs or the 9-bore outer barrel, with the 2 grub screws, it actually works well with both hop units. So it actually clamps it into place, so it doesn't move at all. So ideally this works the best, but with the Nexxspeed, it actually sits in very snug without the need of the grub screws. Now as with the mid-frame, both units sit very well, but with the Nexxspeed it's just a little bit more tighter than usual, so it has less play up and down on the mid-frame. Yep. Alright, so we're going to test the 2 hop units for wobble onto the entire gun. So we're going to use a shorter outer barrel, so this is the Airsoft Masterpiece. The reason is the inner barrel is actually shorter on this, so we just want it to be stabilized, so make sure it's not floating. Alright, so we'll just quickly assemble that. So there's a lot of play. Alright, so you can hear it, it's pretty loud. Okay, let's try it with the Nexxspeed now. So I'm gonna put in the Nexxspeed. So likewise, this is stabilized just like the La-Capa. You can hear there's significantly less sound. It's pretty crazy. So just to quickly compare these 2 hop units, we're just going to talk about the pros with one over the other, and we're just going to start off with the La-Capa. So the La-Capa hop unit, first off the bat, one of the things I realized was the CNC finishing does look a lot nicer than the Nexxspeed, especially on the internal of the hop unit. It's much more cleaner on the La-Capa, and I like that finishing. So number 2, the arm on the La-Capa is a solid piece. There is no soft patch like the one you find in the Nexxspeed, which means it will not wear or degrade over time. So having that one solid piece is a bonus for me with the La-Capa. Now in terms of number 3, because of the arm not having an additional patch, it does not contact as much, which allows the use of lighter BB weights such as 0.25s. Whereas on the Nexxspeed, I had a bit of trouble with using lighter weight BBs as it hops too much. Alright, so we're just going to test the La-Capa and the Nexxspeed Hop units with lighter weight BBs. So for this test, we're using tracer rounds to show how much it hops, and we're just gonna see how it flies. So grouping is not really a main priority since we're using tracer rounds instead. But let's give it a go, and we're using the same HPA setup, but this time we are using both Unicorn Airsoft barrels and buckings. So the only difference is the unit itself. Let's give it a try. Awesome, so that's 10 shots with the La-Capa. All right, now let's try the Nexxspeed. So beforehand we did test it and we know that it hops quite a bit. So with the Nexxspeed, I've actually turned it down to the lowest hop setting possible. And let's give it a try with the 10 shots. Let's see how that works out. Ready when you are? Okay, so we're gonna aim at the same spot as we did with the La-Capa. Let's have a look. So I can see that it's curving just so slightly. Now with the Nexxspeed over the La-Capa, the first thing is the ring design. So the ring design does apply more of an even pressure on the center, so making it more of a more accurate TDC sort of hop unit. Now secondly, the indicator is a big bonus as it does show what hop setting you are on, so you could go back to it very quickly. So number 3 would be the soft patch on the ring. Now I did mention that the La-Capa had a solid piece, which makes it very good, but having that soft patch does help with micro adjustments or minor adjustments if you're using a heavier BB weight. So with the Nexxspeed, I did find it to be much more easier to adjust for different weights because of that patch. So number 4, I did find that the CNC measurements on the Nexxspeed are more precise and more accurate, and it does seem to fit more different brands and different aftermarket barrels as well as mid-frame better. So that would be the number 4 for the Nexxspeed. So all in all, I think the number 1 question that everyone will be asking is which is the better unit? Now, to be honest, I think they both have their pros and cons, but straight off the bat, they do their job. So we've put them on the test with 0.4 gram BBs at 35 meters, and they both do their job. So despite all the keyboard warriors that I've seen saying that La-Capa isn't a true TDC mod, it doesn't matter. It does its job, and I don't think the arm will be bending anytime soon, as it seems like a very solid piece. So all in all, I think they both work great, and they seem to produce quite similar results. Okay, so we're just gonna put on a chrono with the HPA setup. So we're running HPA for the reason of the accuracy test, just to eliminate any sort of cooldown factor. We're running just slightly above 80 PSI, as we're trying to simulate green gas muzzle velocity. But let's show you the chronograph results. So the first one was at 328. I think there was a bit of pressure in there, but we're getting anywhere between 314 and 317. And these will be the muzzle velocities that we'll be using and the same PSI that we'll be using for the accuracy test. So we're going to use the Nexxspeed brass hop up unit, and we're running a 6.01 PDI stainless in a barrel, as well as the 70 degrees unicorn airsoft competition bucking. And for the test, we'll be running high pressured air. So we're currently running 80 PSI just to eliminate any gas efficiency issues or cool down. And for the BBs, we're running 0.4 gram SRC BBs. So these are very heavyweight BBs. And yeah, we're gonna be doing a accuracy test out, from 35 meters. Let's give it a go. Ready when you are? Awesome. So that's 10 shots all on paper. Let's check out the results. Okay, so this is with the Nexxspeed Hop unit. So this is at 35 meters with 0.4 gram BBs. And let's start counting. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I'm guessing there's 2 flyers somewhere. But the overall grouping isn't too bad. So we're talking about a pistol at 35 meters, hitting basically a torso size target every shot, and about 8 shots out of 10 lands on a head size target. So yeah, that's pretty cool. All right, so here we have the La-Capa brass hop up unit now, using the same PDI 6.01 in a barrel with the 70 degrees unicorn airsoft bucking, competition bucking. And yep, same HPA setup with 0.4 gram BBs. Just off the camera, we had a very hard time trying to adjust the hop setting for the 0.4 gram BBs. Feels like every micro sort of adjustment is basically changing it quite drastically. I'm assuming it's to do with the stiffer arm. But you know what? I think we've kind of got it there, so let's give it a try. All right, ready when you are? Awesome. Let's check out the results. Okay, so here we have the results for the La-Capa. I'm just gonna put it down here. So same conditions as the Nex. We're using 0.4 grams at about 35 meters. Can see that it's actually varying quite a bit. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, So it's actually quite wide. I think all 9 shots actually landed on the foam. We did hear one that seemed to be a bit off the foam. Can't really tell unless I reviewed that camera. But yeah, so off the camera, we did have a very hard time trying to adjust the hop up for 0.4 gram BBs. So this is the best we could do after about, I think about 100 shots of testing 0.4 gram BBs. Quite expensive. But you know, I think we can do another 10 shots. Just quickly, I'll just drop the hop up just a little bit to see if we're on target. Okay, so let's put another 10 rounds in. We just adjusted the hop up just so slightly to drop it, and hopefully that works. Let's put another 10 rounds in. Ready when you are. Awesome. Seems like it all landed on the foam this time, so let's go check it out. Okay, so this is the second round. So the first one was marked with basically a dash. So for the second one, we'll be using a circle. So off the bat, we have one here, 2, it looks like a 3 and a 4, 5, 6, 7, can't tell if it's an 8. Another one here, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Not too bad. So it seems like more shots are on target this time. Just quickly show that. So it seems like the results are much more consistent. Seems like it hit the foam all 10 times, so that's a torso size target with 8 shots, the size of a hand. So not too bad there. This is the first one here. So the first one, you can see it's basically a little bit more wider than before. So I'm glad to see those results. That being said, the La-Capa itself does not fit very well with different aftermarket outer barrels and mid-frame. I would assume that the measurements were designed for the La-Capa aftermarkets themselves. That being said, one of the biggest letdown was the fitment for the inner barrels. This didn't work very well with the PDI and the Unicorn Airsoft inner barrel, as it has a lot of wobble and we had to use a bit of plumbing tape to secure it. So if they could fix it, I would be much happier with this particular unit. That being said, the Nexxspeed, however, doesn't actually do well with lighter weight BBs. So with the softer patch that's on the ring, it actually creates too much contact with the Unicorn Airsoft bucking, and I do highly endorse these buckings. I would run them. So having too much contact does mean it does overhop on 2.3s and 2.5s, even on the lowest setting. So ideally, if you're wanting to run lighter weight BBs, it seems like the La-Capa is the better option. But in terms of fitment, the Nexxspeed does win, as it fits most outer barrels mid-frame precisely with absolutely no wobble. It does require a bit of force to remove it, but I think over time it will wear itself in and become easier over the time. And the other thing is the indicator. I absolutely love the indicator on it. So in terms of picking one over the other, it is a very tough choice because, you know, my indoor field does only allow up to 0.25 gram BBs, and that would mean running the La-Capa over the Nexxspeed unless the soft patch has kind of worn itself out or kind of flattened itself out. So that being said, I am leaning towards Nexxspeed in terms of the fitment and the measurements. I think having that no wobble does increase its overall accuracy and stabilization, although the results seem to be quite similar. But in terms of having no wobble on the gun, it feels absolutely cool. So I'm leaning towards the Nexxspeed for this particular instance. That being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know of your thoughts and you know, if we've missed out anything in this particular video. Leave a comment, subscribe, whatever. I hope you guys enjoy this. This is Nonocat, that's on Spear. We'll see you in the next video. Now, if you've ever owned a Hi-Capa or two aftermarket parts of the Hi-Capa unit, and these are known for their TDC on the aftermarket upgrades with their Hop units, TDC Hop units. First off, with the Nexxspeed, one of the things I like it over the 2.5s, the La-Capa would hop it up too much, and in this instance, the Nexxspeed, and you know, with the foam patch, the soft patch, and hold center pretty well. With the Nexxspeed, yeah.